From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Northern Wyoming medical care is really taking off.
They were interested in looking at a service in this space.
Plus, we're remembering a victim who lost her life last week in a crash on the interstate.
She just was a lot of fun. She's gonna be missed.
And it's almost too late to buy that Montana Millionaire ticket, but we'll tell you how many are left. And good morning and welcome to Montana This Morning on this Wednesday, November 2nd. New this morning, a senseless and disturbing crime has a longtime Montana ranching family fearing for the safety of its livestock. 3 cows were shot and killed on their Carbon County ranch, and now authorities are working to find the person who did it. Here's Q2's Alina Howder with the details.
Paul and Jean Loining have lived on this ranch at the base of the Pryor Mountains for over 40 years now and say every day brings something different. But they've never encountered anything like what happened to them on Monday.
Nice bred mare that I bought. Little Texas horse there.
For Paul and Jean Loining, this 18,000-acre ranch near the Montana-Wyoming state line is their livelihood.
I have been here my whole life.
So when their neighbors called around 4:30 Monday afternoon to let them know 3 of their cows had been found shot dead, they were shocked.
I didn't understand why anybody would do something like that to an animal just standing there.
Killed them for no reason, it looks like. Didn't try to get any meat.
The Loinings own about 600 head of cattle.
They look good, don't
they? They do look good.
Several of those cows were grazing along Railbend Road among the wind turbines and a natural gas site where some men happened to be working.
Some of them are workers who kind of actually were there near the scene, saw what was going on.
According to witnesses, a man in a Dodge Dakota drove up the dirt road Monday afternoon and shot 2 calves and a cow from inside his truck.
Shoot him right out of the window with a small caliber gun, it looks like.
The shooter has yet to be identified, and the Carbon County Sheriff's Office says the case is currently under investigation. And the Loinings have no idea why someone would target their cattle. The loss of these cows will cost them at least $5,000, but that's the least of their worries.
It kind of hurt you. You know, every cow here was born here and raised here.
And their sense of security has been thrown for a loop.
We always thought Warren would never be discovered and we wouldn't have to go through this, and obviously that's not the case. It's everywhere and it's sad.
And the Loinings are worried that this wasn't a one-off incident, and if the suspect isn't caught, something much worse could happen.
You can do something like this, you're one step off of doing it to a human being. And that's scary.
We got to take care of each other when you're here.
In Warren, Alina Howder, MTN News.
All right, Miller is back this morning, here to deliver all of the things with the changes.
Yes, some changes
that we see with Montana weather.
Absolutely, got some changes going on behind us right now. Big Sky got some snow falling right now. How about that?
Take a look at that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to make it to our area though. Here in the lower elevations, we may get a skiff of snow, and that may be about it. Really, the Bighorn's a good chance to see several inches of snowfall off of this system. For us, maybe Sunday into Monday, a better opportunity with a stronger cold front that could give us some lower elevation snow. Too early to tell right now, but we'll definitely take a look at that with the forecast coming up here in just a bit. 48 right now at the airport, feels like 43. Winds out of the west at about 12 miles an hour. Really, that's going to be a big story today along the foothills through at least lunchtime, gust up to 60 miles an hour. Then for us in the afternoon into the evening, we could see gusts 30 to 35 miles an hour as that cold front makes its way through. Take a look at temperatures out there right now, mainly in the 40s, even some 30s and some 50s out there. Now look how crazy this is, Andrea. From west to east, we've got 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and some areas even trying to hit 70 today.
Look at that
downslope flow, but it all depends on how quickly that cold front wants to come through. We may not come close to these temperatures. We will break that down with the main forecast coming up here in just a bit.
That is so funny that you saw that pattern in there. That's
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Oh man, the weather is so cool.
It is.
It's interesting.
Keeps you busy. Keeps you busy.
I'm sure it does. Okay. All right, Miller, we'll see you in just a little bit.
You got it.
All right, this morning Billings police are still searching for a hit and run driver responsible for killing a pedestrian on Broadwater Avenue. Police say they're not sure what the suspect was driving, but say the vehicle will have front end damage because small pieces of it were found at the scene. So police are asking anyone with information to give them a call. In a separate crash also on Broadwater Avenue, a man in his 30s died that same afternoon. Police believe he was speeding and he lost control of his motorcycle and crashed. No other vehicles were involved. Well, this morning we're learning more about the life of a Billings teen taken too soon after being killed last week by a suspected drunk driver. 18-year-old Brielle Papavero was driving on Interstate 90 outside of Belgrade when a wrong-way driver slammed into her head-on. Police say the 25-year-old woman was suspected of being high and drunk and also died at the scene. Now Brielle's family says that they want everyone to know that she is a great person who helped her little sister during a battle with cancer.
She was my role model. She was my best friend. She dropped everything and she would travel to California with me while Aisley was doing treatments and sit there with her and make her laugh.
All right, then November 10th, it's going to be a silent auction, an event at 406 Kitchen. That's where she worked. It's called A Night for Brielle, and all the proceeds are going to her family. A Kansas woman who trained 100 fighters in an all-female ISIS battalion in Syria is sentenced to 20 years in prison. 42-year-old Allison Flukekron discussed plans to attack an American college. She did plead guilty, saying she regrets her choices. It is that time of year when we face some big decisions surrounding our health insurance. Open enrollment is just beginning for the millions of Americans who buy health insurance through the public marketplace. Those who receive the coverage can expect 5% higher premiums when signing up. The deadline to sign up is January 15th for the federal marketplace and most states' exchanges. We do have an update on a story that we have been following for months. Now, residents living here at this mobile home park in Billings, well, they're heading to court over the brown water issue. Remember that? We've been doing lots of stories on it through the last couple of months. Well, it is still pouring out of their faucets, even though the owners promised upgrades. Q2's David J. finds out what's inside the lawsuit.
People living at Haven Park are getting some help with the lawsuit. They have two issues. One is that some have had their trailer hitches cut off, they say illegally. The other is the water coming out of the faucet. They say it's still undrinkable and unsafe.
I seen that the kids had the same rashes that I was experiencing, and I finally figured out it was the water.
Sadly, this water is now the norm at Meadowlark Mobile Home Park. Steve Woodard lives here and also owns several other trailers that he rents out. Income that's vanished in recent months after Woodard let two families out of their leases.
We just come to the determination. I says, I'm going to break your lease. You get your babies where you think it's safe.
Gary Devereaux still lives here and says water like this is nothing new. They've had to deal with the problem for almost 2 years.
It doesn't look drinkable when you use it, and it burns your skin and blisters people, puts blisters on their scalp and skin from showering in it. Then there's a big concern there.
But finally there's hope. Billings attorney Teague Westrop has filed a complaint on behalf of 6 families, including the Woodards and the Devereaux, against Haven Park Management, which owns Meadowlark.
We're filing this lawsuit to bring accountability here to the owners of the park.
The suit alleges that Meadowlark has failed to keep the premises in habitable condition and that management committed actual fraud or negligent misrepresentation by making false or untrue representations about the water condition. But the lawsuit addresses more than just the water. It also accuses the company of unlawfully cutting off the hitches on residents' mobile homes so they couldn't be moved.
It's our belief that Haven Park knew that when they were cutting these trailer hitches off of these mobile homes, that these tenants would be left without options to move.
Trespassing and destruction of private property.
As for the water, Westrop says the DEQ, which tests only for bacteria, only calls the water unpalatable.
I don't think that it takes an expert to look at that water.
The suit was filed early Tuesday afternoon, and Haven Park had not yet received a copy of the complaint. The company plans to comment once it's had time to review the allegations. In Billings, David J., MTN News.
All right, this morning we are learning how ridiculously expensive home prices are in Bozeman, which is something a lot of us know, but now it is stretching into smaller neighboring communities like Livingston. Let's start in Gallatin Valley. Of course, the average home price there, take a look at that. It's around $870,000. So in Park County, a little bit more affordable, but as you can see, it is still not cheap. Homes in Livingston are going for $120,000 more than they do in Billings. And naturally, the housing market is having an impact on the workforce. Livingston's overnight shelter delayed an opening due to a worker shortage, which is a problem as we head into winter.
We have had our first snow in the area, so our good luck with this weather pattern is going to come to an end really quickly.
There are a number of different reasons why it's difficult to staff at the shelter, primarily because the work is overnight. And so 6:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. or 1 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. or both, that can be really hard to find folks.
The shelter can operate with a minimum of 5 employees. It has 4 right now. Leaders believe they can hire and open by November 15th. Now to some potentially life-saving news for our viewers in Wyoming. Cody is getting a medical helicopter, getting life-saving care to patients faster. Q2's Charlie Kleps has the details.
Here in Billings, medical helicopters are a common sight. You probably see them all the time hovering over the Magic City, but that's not the case in northern Wyoming, and Cody, Wyoming doesn't even have their own helicopter. Well, at least not yet. Cody, Wyoming may be the gateway to Yellowstone National Park and all of its amazing natural wonders, but there's one big thing the region is lacking: a medical helicopter to quickly transport patients in desperate need of emergency medical care.
From Cody, we fly anywhere from, somewhere around maybe 10 patients out a month. I'm just estimating there, but yeah. And then of course there's several other hospitals in our region that have the same needs.
In the past, Cody Regional Health and other hospitals in northern Wyoming have relied on private, for-profit services or hospitals in Billings when a patient needs to be life-flighted. But thanks to a new partnership with St. Vincent Healthcare, that could change as early as spring 2023.
Just really looked hard at that and asked SCN to be part of those conversations, and they were interested in looking at a service in this basin.
The service will provide the hospital with its own helicopter for life flight scenarios, which means medical pilots will no longer need to fly from Billings to pick up a patient, saving precious time and, more importantly, lives.
Sometimes if they're really critical, flight's a better option, again, for the time of transport.
Just this month, 2 college wrestlers were involved in a grizzly bear attack in northern Wyoming. One of the victims was immediately flown to Billings, while the other had to first be driven to Cody. It's instances like these that EMS Director Philip Franklin is hoping will be handled even more efficiently in the future.
We would have had this resource available. The patient would have not had to come to Cody. They could have flew right to Billings.
A high-flying addition to medical care that will ultimately help to save lives. In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
Thanks, Charlie. Anyone who wants to be a Montana millionaire and get that ticket, well, you need to do so as soon as possible. Take a look at the state lottery website. Okay, so just this morning, that number has already gone down. It was at 51,000 just like an hour ago. Now it is less than 50,000 tickets left. These just went on sale yesterday. 280,000 of them were available. 2 people are going to win the Millionaire Prize, which is announced on December 31st. But last year, tickets sold out in a record 6 days. So Montanans, of course, are on pace to crush that again this year. Okay.